Welcome back to our series about tongue reading and how you can get some great information about what's going on with your health just by looking at your tongue. So this practice comes from traditional Chinese medicine. So today and in some of the previous videos, as we talk a little bit about what your tongue is telling you, I'm going to be using some traditional Chinese medicine terms. So this is not about diagnosing illness or being a substitute for your doctor or even a holistic provider. It's really just about being able to keep track of how the food you're eating and the lifestyle practices you're doing are affecting your health on a day-to-day basis. So remember, just keep that in mind as we take a peek at these signs. And today, the pattern that we're going to look at has to do with your digestion. And it's something that I see really, really often in my practice and with my one-on-one clients. And I think it's going to be a really good sign for you to be able to check out. So let's go ahead and take a peek at some tongues where we can see this sign. In this first tongue, we are going to take a look at this pattern that we're seeing here on the sides of the tongue. So there are a couple of things we could notice. We could notice the coating, we could notice the crack in the center, but we're going to really focus in on this sign on the sides. So you can see how it looks like the ends of her tongue are scalloped. In this case, it almost looks like it's like a ribbon or, like a river on the sides of the tongue. And this is a pretty strong example of this pattern, but it can be more subtle as well. But anytime that we see scallops or teeth marks on the sides of the tongue, from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, we would read that sign as something that we call spleen qi deficiency. And it doesn't have anything to do with your anatomical spleen. It just means that the functions in your body that are responsible for digesting and metabolizing your food and turning that into energy and also substances to repair and rebuild the body, that function is struggling a little bit. So this can show up for people who have sugar cravings, fatigue, can show up when there's insulin resistance. It can show up for people who have thyroid problems. It can show up for people who worry a lot and are having a lot of rumination and worry, because the spleen not only has that physical function of transforming the food, but also has a psychological function of helping us to transform our life experiences into wisdom. So just like we kind of talk about digesting an experience, the spleen does that for us too. So this is a sign that we could see in a wide variety of cases, but in general, it's going to have to do with something relating to digestion or metabolism, and maybe also relating to that psychological function of being able to process our experiences in a helpful way. Let's take a look at another tongue. So this is showing us a little bit more gentle example. So you can still see the scallops here on the sides. And this tongue looks a little bit swollen as compared to, it's a little bit larger than the opening of her mouth. And this is another indication of that spleen qi deficiency here, just showing up in an overall body picture that is a little bit different. So these two people have very different health situations and challenges, and yet this pattern is still part of the picture for both of them. So when you take a peek at your own tongue and look to see if those scallops are present, I really want you to watch and see how those scallops respond to different food that you eat or to anything that you do to help soothe your mind and process your life experiences better. So in particular, if you eat a really sugary and kind of heavy and cold meal, so, an ice cream binge is a perfect time to check on this sign the next morning. Just take a look and see if your tongue responds in any way. And if you eat more, warmer and easier to digest foods like soups and stews, or if you do a khichdi fast or something like that, watch and see if those scallops on the sides of your tongue reduce at all. So I'm going to leave you with this for today, and next time we're going to look at another really common sign down here at the tip of the tongue that is going to help us to understand a little bit more about how our body is really handling the stress in our lives.